Nope, they vanished.
Hmm.
So it's recording. Don't say anything you don't want recorded.
Sounds good.
Tracy, were you in the waiting room?
No, why?
Because someone was in the waiting room and I had to start. Oh, someone's still in the waiting room, or George is in the waiting room.
Oh, we can let George in.
He-
Andy doesn't want to come in as a, I mean, you can let them both in as attendees.
As panelist.
Andy doesn't want to be a panelist, he said.
All right, here comes George.
Okay, but you're already recording, Guilford, and we didn't have a quorum yet.
I know because we couldn't. I had to do that to let somebody in because it was blocking somebody. So just don't say anything you don't want recorded.
Okay, well,
No one say anything.
oh, now we have a quorum. Kim's here and everybody's here. Okay, so welcome everybody. This is the TAC meeting. It's January 9th. We are joined by committee members, myself, Tracy Zafian, and does everybody, committee members, please weigh in? Just
Kim,
and Marcus.
Marcus Smith.
Kim Tremblay.
Stefan Chach.
All right, great. So we have a quorum. And I know that Chris Lindstrom was unable to attend tonight, and Joe said he would try to make it, but okay. And I just emailed a few minutes ago. Sorry that was late, but and George Ryan is joining us in his role as liaison to our committee for the council, and he's also on TSO. And Andy Steinberg, TSO chair, is an attendee. Okay, so we don't have anybody to comment. So we can go ahead and give George the floor. Thank you, George.
Tracy, thank you. Tracy invited me to just give you a update on where TSO stands, both with the South East Street process, and also I think you wanted an update on where we stand with the Transportation and Parking Commission process, which is potentially envisioned as a successor to TAC. So I offered to come this evening at the start of the meeting and give you a quick update and answer any questions that I could possibly answer that you might have. Before I start, though, I just want to repeat something that was said earlier today. It can't be said enough, is that TSO very much appreciates the work that you do, and the referrals that you give us your input on are really valued. So maybe it doesn't always seem like that, but it's very much the case for my committee. So thank you all both for attending the meeting on the 12th and for the other submissions you've given to us over the past year. They're valuable and appreciated. Guilford's present tonight, so he also may want to weigh in. I'm just going to basically summarize what I took from so TSO met today, met with Paul, met with Guilford, and most of the meeting was taken up with the question of Southeast Street and how to proceed given the meeting on the 12th and the reaction to it. And I think it's fair to say that at least from TSO's perspective and from I think our reading of the meeting of the 12th was that no one is happy with the 4 roundabout proposal. And so that one is something that and we communicated that. And I think Paul and Guilford heard that. And so I think the question they had for us was then, how do you want us to proceed going forward? And do you want us to come back with an alternate proposal? And or so what do you want? And it kind of came down to either an alternate proposal, and if so, what would be the components of that? What in particular would you like to be changed? Or should we just stop and not do anything and just see how this plays out? What was made clear in the meeting was that whatever changes take place to the Southeast streetscape will not happen until after the school is open. And so that's certainly not ideal, but I think it was made pretty clear by Guilford that there's just no way that that any of this could, at least most, if not any of this, could be done. Even if we accelerated the process, the amount of time saved really would not have much of an impact. So there's going to be a period when that school will be open and the streetscape will be the streetscape that currently exists there. So that was one thing that was made very clear. So in the course of the discussion, went back and forth for a while, but the committee finally, I should also say that the chair had put together a summary of the December 12th meeting. A draft of it was on the table for us to look at, and it will eventually go to the council. And in that draft document, the chair listed a series of possible options for going forward. There was no prioritization of that. It was just a list. And so in the course of the meeting, the committee by consensus came to the decision that we would like a second proposal to come back to us. Guilford made it clear that that's going to cost a fair amount of money, that this would require CVM and expert input, but that can't be avoided. He also made it clear, I think, that he felt that that was probably a wise way to go. The other option, as I said, was simply to stop and let's just see how this plays out, and then revisit it at that point. And Guilford pointed out that if you do follow that option, which is an option, you're probably talking about 7 years down the road before you finally make any substantive changes to that streetscape. So that didn't carry the day. And so what we asked Guilford to do, and he can weigh in on this perhaps in more specifics, but basically we agreed that the South Common is not sacred, that there can be takings from the Common. We would be open to that. We'd like them to be as minimal as possible, but we'd like to see a plan that shows what takings of the Common would look like, that would facilitate the best possible plan for that street. We asked that the number of roundabouts be reduced, I think ideally to 1, and that would be at the northern end. And there was the talk of the Peanut roundabout, but something like that we would like to be in the proposal. And the third piece essentially has to do with how the rest of the street would be governed in terms of traffic lights and coordination with the College Street intersection. And so those were the 3 key elements. My understanding, and it's a bit fuzzy, even though it only happened a few hours ago, is that we did not get specific about what would happen at College Street, whether it would be a signalized intersection or not. I think that was not quite as clear in my mind, but the essence was that we'd like a second plan, and that plan would would reduce the number of roundabouts, would show us what a taking of the Commons would look like, and would give us the best possible option for going forward if we choose to do so. So that's where it's at the moment. Excuse me, with Southeast Street. When that plan comes to us, obviously we would come back to you and to DAAC and seek your input. But at this point, that's where it's at. I don't know if Guilford wants to add anything to that. Maybe be a bit clearer in specifically what he took from it, but that was my understanding of what we asked him to do.
No, that was very clear.
And I don't know if there are any questions from the committee, from you all about it, but that's how that played out.
Okay, so I have a few questions. One, could we clarify? I mean, this is a little bit outside of tax scope, but is there funding currently to do a reconstruction of this, or even like a large scale like engineering design? You know, we've been told could be up to like $400,000 for that. And I know that there had originally been some conversation about potentially using extra funds that would be left over from the construction of the school, but then I'd also heard that that wasn't an option. We've never received any kind of formal update on that, and so if George or Guilford have information on that, that's just helpful. I think a little bit to just frame it in terms of what realistically would be the time frame if a project is going to go forward, and even the design study.
Guilford should speak to that.
So there's no funding identified for this project. There is a request in the capital plan for next year for $500,000. The 500,000 is for some more conceptual work, and then once the design is chosen for the final design, the way we're looking at it now is probably, so we won't get approval for the funds until July of 25. So it'll be 6 months to a year to finalize the concept, probably, depending on how people accept it, and then another 6 months to a year to finalize the construction plans, and then construction. So you're looking at least 18 to 2 years out before construction can probably start.
So Guilford, is there funding? Has it been determined if like the leftover funds from the school, assuming there are some, could be used towards, or would you need to seek additional funding?
As far as I know, there's no funding identified at this time.
Marcus, do you have a question, comment?
Yeah, sorry. I was just curious why the roundabout on at College and Southeast Street got nixed, because that's the one intersection that could really do with it. It seems like you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot by just looking at the top end.
Well, I'm not speaking for myself, and Guilford will weigh in on his impression, but I wouldn't say it was nixed. I think most of the conversation focused on the Peanut northern end, but it was left somewhat, I felt, somewhat open as to what they would recommend at the other end. I
Okay.
think the main sense, well, again, Guilford can say if that's what he thought he got from it, but the main sense was that 4 roundabouts is just way too many.
Mhm.
And we want the numbers shrunk. It
Yeah,
seems
okay.
The real challenge is at the northern end, but if they came back with a plan that showed 2 roundabouts instead of 4, if they felt that was the best plan, that wouldn't, in my understanding of what we said today, that wouldn't be in violation of our guidance.
All right, good. Sorry,
Well, Guilford,
George,
is
it was
that the
just the way
sense
you
had,
said
or-
it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, just the way you said it made it sound like you guys were nixing the
Well,
bottom roundabout.
that's sort of a question I have in my head myself, in spite of the fact that I was there. And it was done by consensus, not by any vote. There was no written statement.
Okay.
Do you have the sense what did you get from that discussion?
I guess that's for me, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you
Yes.
want, you don't have to. You can just say, well,
You're on the
they
spot.
weren't very clear, so it's not my fault.
I kind of have a feeling that some people think doing College Street is not absolutely necessary for the school to work properly, so that might be cut off the project.
But that intersection's gonna back up into interfering with the school exit and entry. So having a roundabout prevents that or drastically reduces that likelihood.
Yeah,
Correct. But
agreed.
you really only have an hour in the morning and an hour to 2
Yeah.
hours in the afternoon that you have to live with that.
Yeah, no, I agree with the timeframes, but it's just the
Wait.
nightmare it's gonna cause.
So Marcus, wait, you're saying it's gonna back up to Fearing?
No,
Is,
No. At the intersection
Oh,
of
okay,
College
okay.
and Southeast Street,
oh, right.
will
Okay,
back up to the entry and exit points to the
Right.
school.
of the
They
school, yeah,
already
of course,
exceed that today.
Yeah.
right.
But I mean, that bottom one is fine, and it's half the traffic. Now we have twice the traffic, plus everybody going in and out of there for UMass. It's going to be interesting if you don't make that a roundabout.
yeah, I agree. I also was talking a lot after the meeting, the official meeting with Rupert, about his main concern really was, and he did say this during the meeting, but it was interesting because I would have thought the morning would have been the hardest time, but he was suggesting that it was the afternoon when all 15 buses have to leave at the same time, with parents rushing in and out of the school. So I think that's something, and he was indicating to me that only 2 or 3, they routed it so that only 2 or 3 have to go left out of the exit. The rest, are gonna have to, are gonna have to go right through potentially the Peanut, which seems that for me, that seems like a great idea for that time of the day, because otherwise, think about all of those buses stacked up. It's gonna, that would, more than exceed entry to the north intersection. 12 buses or whatever it is. It's ridiculous. But I think, I thought that was interesting. And that was his real main concern, was the afternoon, which is 3. What time is it? So that doesn't interfere with a lot of other, shifts at UMass or whatever, right? But
So
that
Kim,
was his main concern.
was Rupert's, like, the 14 buses, are they with the new school? They're not
Yes.
currently, okay,
Right. Currently,
Right,
there's half that
right.
number.
right, okay.
It's a ridiculous number if you think they all have to come out of that same.
But I wonder if
So
they
only
would,
two or 3 have to make a left turn, right? Which is the
that's good, right?
complicated turn. Yeah.
But I wonder
Mhm.
actually if the number of buses might be reduced, because, for example, like some of the Fort River programs do draw from across Amherst.
I think he was
So-
he had like worked out the routes, which was good that there were only 2 or 3 that had to go left. He was very pleased with that because he knew that would be a real issue. Anyway, I think that's something that maybe we should have him back. Maybe he's done, I don't know, but I feel like that's something we should really think about.
Yeah, I'm curious why there's only 2 or 3, given that you got Amherst Woods and then everything in South Amherst.
They're going
No,
right
South
out.
Amherst also is Crocker Farm though, Marcus.
Yeah, it
Yes.
does, but there's not enough room in Crockett anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, they're going out, they're going right, going to Main Street, going right, going into Echo Hill and doing their
And
drop
then coming down
there,
through.
coming
Yeah.
down.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because that was something they had thought really, apparently
Mhm.
very quickly about, so.
And Rupert won't be around for the
Right.
next meeting.
Yeah,
He'll
he
be
said that
retired.
he was ending, right?
Yeah.
He's
Is he
retiring.
already?
Yeah, yep. But he was very concerned about that part, very, very concerned.
And I think, if I may interject, one of the, I don't know, weaknesses or one of the areas of ignorance is exactly that. In our conversations on TSO, we didn't have someone present like Rupert. And the hope is that in going forward, at least for the next proposal and any future discussion, we will try to make sure that we'll try to have somebody from the school present, if not Rupert, somebody like him, who can provide actual real world, insight to the realities there, because we've been doing this based on hearsay or just without any
Yeah.
understanding at all. And as you pointed out, Kim, he brings a very real and concrete sense of what reality is and what can and cannot be
Right.
done. So,
And he's thinking about, like, he knows
Mm.
that that's a real
Right,
problem,
sure.
and that they all have to leave at the same time, which is something I really didn't know.
And now what is the time frame? So currently, right, the time frame is that the new school would open in the fall of 2026. Is that still
Mm.
the
yes,
estimate?
yes.
And what is the time frame for the affordable housing projects that are in that vicinity, both on the old Southeast Street as well as the one on Belchertown Road? And are they drawing a lot of families, or do we not know what
We don't know. Those are
Okay.
good questions and we need to get answers. I'm not aware of any definitive timeline at this time. And I don't know if they've even gotten to the stage of.
Yeah, is the Route 9 one, is that all approved now? The Belchertown Road one, or no? Okay.
It's still, at least some of it, I think, is still before, planning. And
Oh,
actually,
all
it's not-
those-
I think it's DBA, yeah.
All those must be in walking distance.
They
Mhm.
are, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Part of it, I was just trying to think, like, particularly with the old Southeast Street, like how those people would access the school, if they were walking, for example. So one thing that has come up, and people have asked me about too, is like if if there isn't any funding to do, you know, a major redesign at this time, and I know that Guilford has requested the money to look at do some engineering studies of what might be done, but I mean, will the town look at making some smaller improvements in that vicinity? Like, I know that the Fort River principals administration have been concerned about safe routes to school access for Fort River for a while. And that some of that I think has been acerbated too, like with the current construction there. I mean, you do have those flashing lights, but it's been pointed out, right, that they're not really synchronized with the other intersections or anything like that. But given, you know, that the fact that these affordable housing projects will come online and things like, is that something that maybe the town could look at too, even just smaller improvements? Before
There's
bigger.
so there's really nothing, no small improvement to make.
Okay.
People have talked about making the traffic lights at the school entrance and exit work with the Main Street light.
Okay.
We actually had that working at one time, but then people were running the light and it wasn't working as it should have been. Southeast Street would have this driveway to the school if you're going north on Southeast, you would have a red light on Southeast Street to let people out of the school make left and right turns, but you had to have a green light at Main Street to clear out that small queue
Mm-hmm.
so you didn't back up into the school. So drivers would see I said this before, I think a few times, so you can stop me if you want me to, but drivers would see the green light after the red light and would just drive through the red light. So that
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah.
We
Could
turned that
you
on.
could you remove the traffic lights at Main Street and just drop the intersection or the traffic lights back to in front of the school entry? So move the
There-
control point, back off the intersection.
We could possibly, but we would still not, there's still enough room in there to get a car trapped in there. So you'd have to either put the long delay in there to clear it out and hope no one pulls out of the lawyer's office in between. So it would be a little harder.
Yeah.
Mm.
Or how about even like improving, like for people, I know some people from Echo Hill and things, they come in on Pelham Road or they walk or bike on Pelham Road, the kids do. And then when they can access that back entrance into the Fort River property, the one that's like near Pickering, whatever. So
Mhm.
like that path is not that well maintained and it doesn't have good lighting. And I know, for example, during the winter, it's not shoveled or anything. Like, is that something that could be possibly improved? Because that would seem like long-term that would be a connection that we'd want to improve there too.
So there's no lights there. They don't work. This is all school property you're talking about.
Oh,
and
okay.
It hasn't been maintained by the school, and I mean there could be funds allocated for it, but there are no funds allocated at this point.
Yeah.
There was talk about the walk between Belchtown Road and the school that cuts through the new housing development. But you would have to have the new housing development on board, and then conservation would have to be on board, and then you'd have to have a bridge. So
Yeah. Complicated.
So
Um,
the school could always request like funds for that too, right, for the path trail.
Mhm.
and they could run separately from the road work in the front on Southeast Street.
Do you, when you're kind of looking at your new plans and everything, have you thought about, I know this is moving that north school entrance to Main Street through the back end of the lawyer's office?
Hmm.
Because it's all it's scrubland, right? It
There's
might be
actually
wetland.
there's a wetland to the east behind
Nobody cares about those.
it's just a wet spot.
Yeah. Well, the school's a wet spot anyway, so.
Well, and one of the things that came up at the TSO meeting today, and I think you said this, George, or or there, I'm just remembering from the other meeting, is like the possibility of cutting a little bit into the Southeast Street Common. Right, that there is some, that the TSO was supportive of doing that if it needs to be done and wanted more information about what that
Yeah, that
potentially
was
would
part
look
of the,
like.
yeah, we
right?
said to Guilford, you take what you think is, there's gonna be some pushback, there even was pushback, I think, on my committee to some extent, from the sense that this is a very historic area. There are beautiful trees there, and it was made clear that if we are gonna do some taking from the common, you're gonna lose a number of trees. And it's also a place where some people might feel that, I'm not saying about the committee, but on the committee itself, I think there was some sensitivity to that as well, but the consensus was clearly is you can take from the common in order to achieve, show us what a plan would look like involving taking from the common that would achieve the optimal traffic flow goals, et cetera. And then we would look at it. I think the bottom line here is that a fair amount of money is going to be spent, a fair amount of time is going to be given to creating a second plan. And as we all know from experience, there's no guarantee that that plan will win approval either. But the sense was that it's worth making that effort rather than just letting it sit and just seeing what happens over
Right,
the next
right.
couple of years. So,
So,
yeah.
so moving forward from this point, George, so will the TSO then be making a recommendation to the council about how to proceed? And then, I mean, they wouldn't move forward with the engineering study, right, until the council has given its blessing on that. And even as you brought up to like the potential mixed feelings about doing things on the Southeast Street Common, like it seemed like that would be something that it would need to have like council approval, not just from TSO. Is that correct?
That's a very good question, actually. I think my reading of this is that we don't need council approval. On the other hand, just practically speaking, if there was enormous resistance, if a number of councilors said, no, you can't touch the South Common under any circumstances, it would be important to know that. We are just speaking as a committee of 5. But my reading of this is that we don't need approval of the council to go back to Guilford and say, please give us a second version. The council hasn't even seen the first well, they've seen the first version. People are aware of the first version.
And now also too, right, Guilford has requested joint capital funds.
Yeah,
So
funds
until
have been
those are
requested.
allocated, like for the planning and engineering work, so until those are allocated, right, this is sort of on a standstill. Like, will anything be happening between now and July, or is it just waiting for that?
A
Money.
good question, Guilford. Yeah, what are your thoughts?
Just waiting for money.
So we should not expect a report. I mean, in the best of all possible worlds, a second plan, if everything went, right, when's the earliest TSO could even see a second plan?
It would not probably be until October, November at the earliest.
Wow. Okay. Good. That's good to know. I didn't ask that question today. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so George, do you want to also update us on the
Well, yeah,
Transportation Parking Commission?
The TPC, which is, as we said, is the proposed successor to TAC. We've been spending a fair amount of time on scope, and we're ready to move to discuss composition. But we've made good progress. And there's nothing definitive to report, but I can give you some sense of what it's looking like and where I think it's headed. And the one concrete thing is we're going to reach out to the city of Northampton. They have a body very similar in form to what we're imagining, and we're going to ask their Alex Jarrett, who is, I believe, he's a counselor, Ward 5 counselor, and he can speak to that body. I think we're also going to invite the chair of that body as well. So we still have some more discussing to do that could impact the scope document. But in essence, what we're envisioning, at least this committee at the moment, is leaning towards is a body that would have some absolute authority, and I can give you some examples, but in many areas would be advisory. It would do most of the heavy lifting, but then it would then report back to the council with a recommendation, and the council then would have the final say. And I can give you some examples of how that might play out. But if Paul was imagining, and maybe Guilford as well, a body that basically just had complete authority, that whatever it was given all these areas, and it could make the decisions, and that was that. The committee seems to be headed into a different direction where it's a shared issue. So I can give you a couple of examples, but if you want, of how
But I just have one comment. I mean, my
Yeah.
understanding of the Northampton Transportation and Parking Commission is that it is largely advisory as well.
that is correct.
And that they do the
Definitely.
heavy lifting and then they send it to the city council, and the city council is the one that gives the approvals on
Right.
that.
Yeah.
So,
So that's, I think, the direction we're heading in. So, but for some things, for instance, if you want a rapid flashing beacon at, say, Memorial Drive, which is what in my district, somebody has asked for, that would go to this body and they would have a full say over that.
so I
Um,
actually have a question about
sure.
that example is,
Yeah.
my understanding currently is that the rapid rectangular flashing beacons, RFBs, are considered signs. And under the current town council policy on public ways, like the town council has delegated that authority to the town manager. And it doesn't, the RFBs do not typically come before the council for approval. Like if you look at
They
the
do
one on
not. That is
Amity
correct.
and
Yes.
Lincoln
Right.
and
That is correct.
the ones on College Street and wherever they are, right? So is that, I hadn't thought that that some of the authority that's currently with the town manager would be moving to this TPC, but is that? But I haven't been paying, I haven't been
No, I
attending all your
have
meetings or
been, and
anything,
you
yeah.
raise a point here that I'm gonna have to dig a little bit deeper, I think. The document I'm working with doesn't have, if in fact, which I'm sure you're right, this falls under the category of signage. Right now in the document, the way I understand it, it has to do with permanent changes to the public way, and that's really not where this falls. So that might not be a very good example. If it's currently under the authority of the town manager, I assume, then we have to look at it. It could either stay with the town manager, or I think he'd prefer to just have it handed over to the TPC. But it would not.
Well, I mean, I think engineering, obviously DPW weighs in and like to,
Right.
on that, but,
Okay, well then that first example is problematic and I need to do some more homework.
oh, sorry about that.
No, that's why it's valuable. Anyway, again, examples like that. The document's in the packet if anyone wants to take a look at it. The draft is there. It's been there now for a couple of weeks. Hasn't changed much.
Yeah, could you send us I looked in the packet and I did not see that specifically, so
Mhm.
I think those specific examples you gave during the TSO meeting are very helpful. And I would share those out with TAC, but
Okay.
I
That might
didn't
be the most
see it
correct.
in that version, but I know that there's always that public packet and then the other
No,
packet.
this was there,
so-
but
Okay,
that's all right.
right.
Now I can send it. I'll send it.
Okay, sure.
And
Thank you.
that might be the most useful way to proceed for you all to look at it. And
Sure.
see what you make of it.
So what do you see as a time frame, like potentially on this being rolled out? TSO being, done with their piece of it, or preliminary done with their piece of it and sending it forward to the council and then council discussion and where it could go. What do you,
I would say
optimistically, where do you think it
March
is?
would be optimistic.
So
Okay.
in March, you would think it could potentially go to the council in
That's,
March?
that's a guess. I mean, we still have a meeting with Mr. Jarrett and company. I still have, as you pointed out, I have some refinements to make to the scope document. And then we haven't really discussed composition. At the moment, the Northampton body has 11 members on it. What I'm proposing, or what's in the packet at the moment, has 5. And there's also a question of whether counselors should be on this body. In Northampton, there are 2 counselors who sit on on their transportation commission, and that's an issue we're going to have to discuss. At the moment, the current version, which is just my proposal, does not have counselors sitting on it. It has 3 residents and a representative from DPW and a representative from the police department. And
So
under-
Yeah, so if this does, optimistically go to the council in March. Like it could take a month, or it seems like it could take a little while for like council to consider it and potentially send stuff back to TSO or like,
Well, if we do our
I
job.
mean, I can
right-
kind of see a time frame that it could be like,
Oh,
June
yeah.
or something at least, right?
Yeah,
And
that's-
I know that it's in June when all of like people's terms are up on the TAC as well. So I mean, because one thing I've heard is that like we have a current vacancy, on TAC that we've had for now about 16 months, and that we can't fill that vacancy because of this like impact,
Mhm.
the fact that this body could be created. But if it's still going to be another 6 months before the body is created, it would be really nice to fill that vacancy. Like we have some long-term members on the committee, including Kim, who I think started in 2017 or something, and we would love to get some new members on TAC, some new energy, some new expertise, and
Mhm.
so on. So I hope that we're not waiting that long on that.
Well, I certainly hope that we're trying to move it along as fast as possible.
No, of course, no.
But I can't guarantee anything. I would say optimistically sometime in March, pessimistically maybe as late as June.
And I know that, I mean, I know TSO will be making the decision on this, but I do like the Northampton model,
Mhm.
when the town manager was putting together his memo, like he and I met a number of times and we reviewed what different transportation parking commissions have done all over the state. And I think that's a good potential model for Amherst. And I am a little hesitant, like I know that in some of the conversations I've heard with counselors is like, counselors are talking about giving up, basically some of the things that they don't want to have to spend time on, including say poll hearings or some of the minor things related to parking or
Mhm.
I know that one counselor recently mentioned like the Amherst College signs and things, that those could all be things that could go under the Transportation Parking Commission, which I can understand. I mean, given how busy the council is and how busy TSO is, not wanting to get bogged down in all those things, but I would really be cautious. I mean, I would recommend caution to TSO and the council that if you only give this new body authority and say, even if it's advisory say on those types of matters, it will be difficult to fill those spaces because those may not be of interest to potential members either. So, I mean, that's one thing, I think about personally, like if, how would we recruit people? Not that we have to have a final say in a number of the items, but like that this body should be given a substantive advisory role, not just a cursory role. And I think it's a really powerful body because it includes both residents as well as members from planning. I mean, hopefully planning and DPW and police and so on like that. So you have the staff in the room with the residents, but not to just give us the pieces that the council would prefer they not have to deal with. So
Yeah, like long-term plans, like, our
exactly, yeah.
had plan that we developed, we tried to do as democratically and openly as possible that are toward a common goal for all districts, current districts. It's like unifying them all. So that's kind of what I've always thought of this committee as. We're not based in a place or a particular segment of Amherst. We're just interested in a network, that's accessible throughout town, And because I feel like that's really that kind of stuff gets us all really excited and interested, And it's good for the town.
So I will get this to you and I think you all should look at it. I think you will, this is a draft, so it can change, but it has been the direction we've been going in. And I think we're fairly close to reaching a conclusion on it. And I think there's fairly substantive areas for this body to weigh in on. But in some of them, they're advisory,
Mhm.
like the Northampton model. And in
Mhm.
some, you actually would have complete authority. But the larger scale ones, permanent changes, especially major changes like what's happening at Southeast, that would be something that eventually the council would want to vote on, but this body would be doing most of the heavy lifting and would make a recommendation. And so it would still have a lot to do and a very substantive nature, but in some cases it would be advisory, in some cases it would be definitive.
Sure, no, that makes sense. And I guess, I mean, one thing for TSO to think about too is how this body would connect with TSO and with the council. Like right currently, sometimes things come to the council, matters regarding the public way to come to the council, and they get referred to TSO, and from TSO they get referred to TAC, and then they go back to TSO, and then they go back to the council, and it's a
Mhm.
very long process. So whether there would be items that just wouldn't be under like TSO's purview, like would things go directly from the council to this body and then from this body back to the council, or would, you know,
I think what we're
how many steps
envisioning-
are there?
Well, we're trying to
So-
keep them down, but
So, no, of course,
if
yeah.
you can
I just-
imagine that you went through the long process, say with Southeast Street, and then you made a recommendation to the council, and then the council had a whole host of concerns and objections. It would get sent either back to this new body or more likely get sent to TSO for TSO to do the things that the councilors want done. And then it would come back, right? So that I think is unavoidable in a situation where you have an advisory body.
I mean, it's not, I mean, I haven't looked closely, but I don't believe that Northampton, for example, has so many like council committees that are
Good. and I
like
think
playing
in our
these
discussion-
substantive role, you know, so,
Yeah.
okay.
Our discussion with Jared, that would be something that we might learn something and get some ideas, but at the moment,
All right.
that's the way it's looking.
All right. Thanks, George.
Sure.
And
thank
you're
you very
welcome to
much.
come to TAC anytime, you
No,
know,
I
as our
appreciate it, and I will
liaison.
try to
So,
be a better liaison, but I will read the minutes, that for sure. Anyway, thank
great.
you all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. So next on our agenda, I mean, those are the main items I'd wanted to cover. Next on our agenda was just the implementation of the 25-mile-per-hour statutory speed limits. I kind of was hoping that George would stick around a little, but not that he's involved in the implementation. But I know Guilford, I've seen the signs up now around like the entrances to town for the statutory speed limit. Are they all up now? Is that right?
Guildford is Sunderland Road 25.
There's a few that still need to go up, but most of them, the majority are up.
Mm,
Would
you
Sunderland
might-
Road be 25? I don't think that would apply, Marcus.
It does, because it's the only speed limit that they've posted. So you
Does-
turn off 116 onto Sunderland Road
Okay,
and you're met with the, 25 miles an hour unless stated. And there ain't no stating until you hit like somewhere by the survival center or something. Well, yeah, sure, that could be 25, but
Well,
you're
hold on.
25 all the way into
okay, I'm
town.
gonna, I
Guildford.
think some cases too, there's like missing signs, right?
Yeah,
That
yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
mean that they're not actually the higher level. So this is, I had shared a link to it and we also talked about it at the last meeting. Like this is the one that Guilford, you said that Jason had gone through and like mapped
Yes.
all the ones that were statutory speed limits, which are most of the major roadways. So like if we go up on Sunderland Road,
That yellow portion right there.
right? So it says here like that this is 40.
40.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
not
off of
signed
116,
40.
it's 40. And
Yeah,
then-
right. It should be. It used to
Right. Okay.
be.
Got
It
it.
used to be that, but it is right now signed as 25.
Well, there's no 40-mile-an-hour sign there is what.
That's
yeah.
what he's saying, right?
Right. Yeah, because it says 25 unless otherwise stated, and there is
The-
no otherwise stated.
Yeah. So Guilford, has the town looked at where there are missing signs and so
And
on?
we're making a list. We're making a list.
We're just checking it twice.
Well, there's really only one place to take money for all this stuff. The budget doesn't cover wholesale sign replacements or installation, just onesies, twosies. So when you have a whole group, you have to get a list together, then
Mhm.
get those funds. So I wish it was the other way around, but it's not anymore.
Well, I guess so if you're not posting, so how does this work? I guess there's also a question for the police, right? If it's not posted at anything but this, the 25 at the entrance, then I guess the 25 is applying. So
Hmm.
maybe we
Unless-
shouldn't be in a hurry to like put up that 40-mile-per-hour sign or like, but
Unless you ticket somebody who always challenges.
so, yeah. And I mean, because, you know, in some of a lot of the residential areas are 25 by default, they're the statutory speed limit. So have we heard, I mean, Guilford, have you heard anything more about the enforcement? Like I had heard that the town sent out the notices that there was gonna be like PR campaigns and outreach to let people know about the 25 and
My
how
understanding
it's
is
gonna be
that
enforced and,
the police are doing it, so
oh, okay.
we would just have to get one of the police officers, either Chief Ting or one of the new captains to come in and talk about it.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, I had mentioned that I know that TSO had expressed some interest in speed management too. I didn't know whether, is that something we can do where we can invite Chief Ting to our meeting or
You could
Should-
ask. You
should
could
he
ask
come,
them.
should he come to TSO too, or, but
I mean, that's up to them.
maybe one of the things that's going to be happening too with the council committees, right, is that there's an election for a new council president at the Monday council meeting coming up, and then there will be some reorganization of which councilors are on which council committee, so it could be a little while. So I wasn't really sure that if I could go ahead and make an offer to Chief Ting, but I'll do that. And he's been pretty supportive on speed things, and it would be great to hear from him about how that enforcement's gonna go. And it also seemed to, just in terms of like, we do also have like the safety speed zone now on Henry Street, and you're gonna be putting in the schools, you know, the other school zone signs and so on, so it'd be great to hear how much enforcement is possible or being done. And they did have, I mean, I put this on the agenda too, just like I know that the Amherst PD did have a grant relating to people having to yield, drivers having to yield at crosswalks, so maybe that would be a great opportunity for Chief Ting to also report back to us on how that went. Because I know, I mean, I have impressions from when I first moved to Amherst that on the downtown crosswalks that the police would pull people over often. And I don't know whether they were ticketing at that time or they were just giving warnings, but they would be telling people basically that you need to yield to pedestrians. And it was very powerful to see that when I first came to town because they were there like often, so. Okay,
I've never seen them downtown.
well,
do we-
when I came to Amherst, that's what I
Yeah, they've done it
remember.
at the one at Strong and East Pleasant.
Yeah, but
They
that's
used to do
school.
that a
too.
few times.
No, but the one near, it right downtown, like near the
Yeah, yeah.
firehouse and stuff. I used to see that there a lot.
Yeah, I've never seen, I'm just saying,
Okay.
I've never
No,
seen.
okay, yeah, yeah.
So like that hasn't happened. I don't think that's happened in a long time.
All right. Maybe I've been in Amherst too long. I don't know.
I've.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll reach out to Chief Ting. That's a great idea. So I just wanted to get some updates on these. I know that these are things the committee is interested in too, about the roundabout at Amity and University. Has the council already approved it or is it still pending, Guilford?
And council's approved it.
Oh, they have, okay.
We're waiting for the contract from the state, which we got some information today on, but we're working on that.
Okay. So that project would proceed then in the spring? Is that going to be on the,
We probably will not get started until late summer.
okay,
There is some other work that may start before the roundabout work starts.
in the
Because-
same area or a different part of Amherst?
Right on top of it. Yeah, right in the same
Oh,
area.
okay. So,
Because I recently got word, I mean, graduation and move out are all happening at the same time. It's gonna be awful.
They moved
Wait.
graduation up.
No, it's not they have, I mean, over the last couple of years, but move out and graduation are occurring concurrently. Like, it's gonna be crazy.
right, so normally, right, most of the undergrads except the seniors move out earlier, but you're saying it's all compressed into the same.
No,
Days.
exams go until the end, until when graduation is
Okay.
occurring. So
Got
the
it.
undergrads are leaving at the same time the graduates get to stay until graduation is over. But
Right.
the rest of the students are leaving at the same time
Mm,
as parents and people are infiltrating to come to graduation.
got
It's gonna be nuts.
It's gonna be great.
it.
Tracy, there's a question from in the Q&A. Someone's
Oh, okay,
asking
sorry.
about this meeting. Yeah, and today's meeting is just a TAC meeting.
Yeah,
The
I'm sorry about
previous
that.
meeting we had, was that 2 weeks ago? When was the last meeting we had with TSO? Was that 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, hi,
Yes.
Saren. And we're well, we could even let
You wanna
Saren
let
in
her
the
in?
room.
Yeah,
That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that meeting that I think you're thinking about, Saren, was 2 weeks ago.
She's not in yet. There she is.
Hi, Saren. Saren, can you hear us?
You're muted,
Muted.
Saren,
Yeah.
and you're trying to talk.
Okay, I'm sorry. The meeting you're talking about is was the one between TSO and TAC and DAC. And
Right.
then I marked my calendar that there was a follow-up meeting that was going to be tonight at 5 o'clock. So I sent an email to Pamela to see what's going on, and I haven't heard anything. Oh, she said, TSO had a meeting at noontime, and she was made aware a little late, and she missed that meeting. So, but she said TAC is meeting this afternoon, so that's how I joined. But I just
Okay,
came.
thank you for joining.
Yeah.
Yeah, so TSO did meet this morning. So TSO meets on Thursdays and they meet from 10 to 12 usually. And they met this morning and they were talking about Southeast Street, and other things as well. And so I think that, as you heard, because you've been here like since our TAC meeting started, that so George Ryan, who's the assistant chair of TSO, he
Yeah.
gave an update of how that meeting went. Right. So we didn't have anything more specific with the Disability Access Advisory Committee on our agenda on tax agenda for tonight.
So maybe that's what we should do, is invite him to our next meeting this Tuesday, so he can give us an update on their findings too, because we find lots of problems with that intersection.
Are you talking about Southeast Street or about the
Yes.
Amity one? Oh, right, of course.
Well,
But
a
it sounds
southeast
like,
connection to Amity. I mean, southeast connection to Main Street.
right,
The four
right,
roundabouts which they
right.
proposed, and we find it very unsafe for people with visual impairments. And we're also supporting very strongly bike lanes for students that might come. And so it seems like we don't want to be left out from the discussion. I don't know if that will make any difference or not, but I just wanted to let you know that I
Well,
was
thank you. I
present.
mean, as George Ryan was saying at this meeting, right, that and as Guilford has said as well, that there won't be, like, there will probably be, well, DPW has asked for additional funding to do additional studies. So nothing is moving forward at this point, except for to frame what additional studies would be done, and they are waiting on the funding to do those additional studies. So,
Okay.
but I mean, I attended the TSO meeting this morning and there was quite a bit of discussion about the concerns that the Disability Access Advisory Committee had raised. So
Oh,
the TSO members are aware of your concerns.
well, I don't know if any DAAC members were made aware of that meeting. So, but maybe they were.
It was a meeting just of the TSO, like they were
I see.
debriefing from the meeting that was in December.
I see. Okay. All right. Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, thanks, Marcus. Okay,
No problem. I didn't know that we had a Q&A function, so it was like I was kind of curious what was popping up. So it's
well,
good
you
to know.
typically have Q&A when you do webinars, but I'm
Yeah,
not used to
yeah.
looking at them in meetings.
I just normally get the chat, and then it's like, but we don't
Right.
have chat, right? So
We don't
yeah,
have chat, yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So it sounds like the earliest that, Guilford, what you were saying is the earliest that the roundabout project would proceed would be, I mean, Amity and University Drive would be late summer. So,
Yes.
and what is the other work that might be going on in that area?
There's a water line we need to upgrade.
Okay,
So the water line work will probably start in the spring, go through graduation because that's what we like to do.
That's
And,
great.
That's
So
great.
really,
Yeah.
you're just out there causing
You know,
trouble.
Guilford, you know that the state paused, right, on some of its work, like, you know, Belchertown Road and things like over graduation. So,
Well, you know,
we do too.
my main
Good.
concern about graduation really are like every time that we get a warning from the schools that buses might be late, kids might not get to school on time because it's a freaking Friday that this is happening. It's ridiculous.
Usually it
Yeah.
used to be Saturday, I remember,
Yeah.
but yeah.
It used to be Saturday, but then the grad students were on Sunday, and I think that cut into people's weekend a bit. So
A lot of grad student stuff was on Friday. That's what I remember, and undergrads were on Saturday, but
It's all just ridiculous. The schedule.
it's a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it's yeah, the fact that it's going so close to after finals. So, okay. So Guilford, is the water work that has to be done, is that on University Drive itself or?
it's actually on Amity Street.
Okay,
It goes from, well, have you ever noticed there's a little little concrete pad off to the right on Amity Street as you're driving into Hadley, across from the old hangar?
yes.
That's
Oh,
that's basically the end of the water line, and that's where the water goes into campus at that side of campus. So we go from there. It's about 1,200 feet so it's up to, is Blue Hills first or Dana? I can't remember now.
Well, first of all, you have Charles, right?
Yeah, this Blue Hills or Dana is where it goes
And
to
then it goes, well, Blue Hills. Blue Hills is farther
Sure.
down the
next.
hill, and then Dana. Yeah.
So it was from Blue Hills all the way to that little concrete pad.
Does that mean Blue Hills gets new water lines too?
No, now Dana is the one that gets it after that. Dana's in the queue.
Dana gets water lines ahead of Blue Hills
Yeah,
because our water doesn't have enough like infiltration and isn't brown enough for the, okay, all right.
it's not iron enough.
do you guys talk to UMass? You should let them know that this is going to be happening then, because really it's
Oh,
going to be
we know. We'll tell them.
constipated.
It'll all get all.
Okay.
And we do shut down. We do shut down for graduation. We just like to go all the way up to the limit and make people get worried.
Okay, yeah, because it's just getting kids out. I mean, I'm just really worried this year. It's going to be a mess.
Well, if it goes the way we think it'll go, they'll probably be all the way out of there and up on Amity Street, and the intersection at University Drive will be clear. So
Okay.
Well, and also, right, sometimes Hadley or whoever it is, who's ever making those decisions, they close down like some of Rocky Hill and things to make sure that people aren't cutting through.
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
So, okay, all
and
right.
us people in Hadley don't appreciate that, but it's okay.
You're a Hadley person, aren't you?
He
Yeah.
used to be on the select board.
You have to
I
go
know.
around the long way. It's kind of a pain.
Annoying.
So,
Nightmare.
so Guilford, what was the final resolution in terms with the council in terms of giving you additional DPW additional funding for sidewalk and roads in this budget? That did go through, no?
So in this year's budget, that has not gone through yet. So that is they are going to hold the hearing.
On
on
Monday?
I can bring it up again. On Monday, they're holding the hearing,
Okay,
and then they'll vote.
to do
They'll
it
vote
yes or
on Monday
no.
for it.
Okay,
Yes.
and now you had said that you don't have much or any budget left for those like road signs, sidewalks, any of the things left, right, in the FY 25 budget, or do you?
We're already getting, it's tight. Budget's tight. So no, there's not much money hanging
So,
around.
but there is money, right, to put up the school zone signs and things, right? That's what, oh, that's the next item, one of the next. Hope so. Wasn't that a different pot of money? That was a different pot of money that came from
No.
JCPC.
Yes, that money is there in
Oh, good.
JCPC. We're bidding that right now, so
Okay,
we'll have a new bid shortly.
So,
great.
so what is if you do get additional money, what are there priorities or what?
The priorities have not been put together yet.
Okay.
And don't you get a lot of requests, I guess, in the spring to fill the potholes and things? Sure.
We get requests all the time. Belchertown's been doing the most requesting lately.
Belchertown?
Yeah, their cut throughs are kind of a mess, so they're kind of like wanting us to patch their cut throughs.
The town
Oh.
or people in the town?
They want the town to patch, West Bay Road because it's interrupting their drive.
Oh, I
Well,
see.
yeah, their residents can pound sand. So.
So,
Yeah,
okay.
this is recorded, remember?
I know it is. That's the point.
We're not elected officials.
Yeah, exactly. We're good to go.
Yeah, okay. So I did have just a final question about the school zone signs. So are the ones that are gonna be put in, are they gonna be the ones that are gonna say like when flashing, like school zones are in effect when flashing, or is that still to be decided?
The school is not giving us hours. They want the signs to be activated.
Oh, you
So
haven't
the
gotten any
signs do
additional.
say the school zone is when flashing. So
Okay,
if we don't get any guidance, we'll just go with the one the we haven't got any guidance.
okay. Well, I know Chris
But we don't
Lynchon has
have to
been in
yet.
touch, and I mean, as we've noted, like Rupert is leaving and things, but it would be good to get a little bit of input, I think. I mean, the thing I think about is I know, like, for example, at the high school, and I think the middle school too, right, that students are getting free lunch. But the free lunch period is before like the start of school. Like at the elementary school, it sounds like they actually give out the free lunch in the classroom in the beginning, first period. At the beginning of
Free
the school
breakfast?
day.
Mm.
Yeah, the free breakfast, yeah. Oh, sorry, free breakfast, right. But at the high school, it's like before school, so
Yeah.
one thing that my kid has seen is like if some of the school buses are running really late and that they are arriving at school like while the bell is going and then they don't get the breakfast.
Oh, no.
And
That's
now that my kid is like 6'1" and wants to like eat as many calories as possible, he wants that breakfast
Yeah.
and not to be tardy. So anyway,
By give him
Called
a
second
bicycle.
breakfast for him, right?
it's
Second breakfast.
second or third. He needs as many breakfasts as he can get. He's not that he's quite
It's like the
skinny.
Hobbits.
Yeah.
He's quite skinny. So
Hobbits, first
yeah.
breakfast, second
So that was one
breakfast.
thing I just want to make sure. I mean, if you don't get guidance on that, and we could provide some suggestions or anything, and do you think at some point too, I mean, it would be great if the town could also look at some of the other school zones too, or even the school zone times.
We've asked them to do all of them, so however
Okay,
they
right,
want it.
okay. But even to the location of the other school signs, like, I know there's been concerns at Crocker Farm that the flashing lights are like so close to the driveway that there's very little on West Street, that there's very little time for like drivers to respond, like if they can get backed up or anything. I know all that costs money and everything, but okay.
How many new drivers drive down West Street every day?
How many new drivers?
Yeah.
Oh,
Lots.
That's just
Well-
my plug. That's my plug.
Uh-huh.
Most people who drive West Street during school hours or drive down every day or every work day.
Which one is West Street?
West Street is like 116 going south
Oh,
of Groff Park.
yeah. Oh, right,
And
okay.
is it West Street all the way down to like the Notch? Is that all West
Yeah.
Street, Guilford?
Mhm.
Yeah,
all the way to the Notch,
yeah.
to the town line. And
So you
then
got
it
like Hampshire
changes.
College students, you got some people. Anyway, okay. All right, well, I didn't get any meeting minutes from Amber. And I guess we can set our next meeting. And it's good, we can end on time or maybe a little early, which would be awesome. Stefan, do you have anything you wanted, anybody have any other comments? They want to make any concerns?
No, I'm not at this time.
Okay, thanks. Anybody else?
No, great, thank you.
So I have a comment myself. So one thing is I have some concerns just about Belchertown Road like that. I mean, it looks great where the new striping is in and things and right the new crosswalk at Colonial Village. It does have the RFPs now, I think.
Great.
But the bike lane, when you're going out of town, I guess that's the one I noticed the most, but the bike lane there that was created, it just ends. And there's no kind of signage. And I know that that was one of my concerns initially, that when we have these short segments that a bike is in the bike lane and then boom, it's gone. And there's no signage relating to them merging into like the main traffic lane. And it's never felt like totally safe to me. And but if we could have some signage, that would be great.
That's-
Actually, I have a question for you. So along those lines, I was just driving down there to the dump today. You had some
Transfer station.
sorry. Uh my English family was horrified that I actually have to pay to go to the transfer station because it's free in the UK. So sorry, but I mean it's like a bloody ski slope. It's like up and down and up and down on the new section. I mean, I know there's a slight bump on the the crosswalk, but at the junction with the old stuff, with the old where the new road ends, and right before then on the new road, it's like got a bit of a hump in there too. And you had some surveyors out there doing some stuff today, looking at it. Is there a reason for it being like a ride in the country, or?
It's really flat. It's really flat there, and we were just having puddling water, so we were trying to just make sure the water gets to the catch basins.
Yeah.
Okay. But can we add some signs though, like with these emerging places?
They're
with the
not
bike
done with
lanes?
everything out there. They stopped.
Okay. No, I
So
understand.
there's more
Sure.
stuff going out there. That's all.
Great.
That's
Okay,
good.
that's good.
When is it going to start up again?
Hopefully it'll start back up well, it depends. If March is really snowy, which is we're hoping, it'll start in like mid-April or so.
Oh, okay. Is there a particular reason why you're hoping that March is snowy, or?
We
We
haven't had
need
it. We haven't had a
snow.
good snowfall at all.
No, I know. Yeah.
We want to
It might.
get we want to get out of the drought conditions we're in now. So
Mhm.
we
Right,
need
no,
snow, good snowpack, and
And my daughter on the Nordic ski team, it would be great if we could have a one home meet. And can I tell you that she came in second overall in
That's
the
awesome.
league on the
woohoo,
first race?
nice.
We
Awesome.
need to have snow.
Yeah, we are in a severe drought right now.
Yeah.
Still.
Yes.
Yeah.
In
Right.
her 4 years on the team, we've never had a home meet, which happens at the at
Cherry
Cherry
Hill.
Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I've
know
never heard of, have there ever been meets at Cherry Hill? I
Yes,
don't.
Yeah,
there
yeah.
have.
Yeah.
And they
Oh.
regularly have had practice there
Mhm.
before 4 years.
Well,
There's been
it's-
people after snow
It's too warm
snowmaking at Cherry Hill
too.
too. Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah,
also
no.
too, unfortunately, like Amherst Nordic, like the organization like shut down because they didn't have any volunteers.
Yeah, because
take a lead on it.
they haven't had any, it hasn't been like, there were 2 days last year that they were open, it's really sad, but
You know, now there's a whole cold stretch, wasn't it
Yeah.
DPW and like rec and parks, they put out like the ice skating rink at Kendrick last
Yeah.
year?
That's awesome.
Yeah,
gonna
are you
do
guys
that
doing that
again?
again?
I don't know.
It's
I
cold
don't-
enough,
It's been cold enough. It's been like a great year so far in terms of the cold
It has. It has.
compared to normal.
but
Well, I know that my family, we gave up our stuff and we
Oh, you
said,
did?
hey,
Oh, you
we gave it to the town.
Oh, come on, town. Well, maybe you can help them out. You could
well,
just
I mean,
throw it.
Puffers is good.
Oh, yeah.
There's
But-
plenty of ice down there right now.
the
And
Nordic-
And old Farm Road has
yeah,
there's ice and-
Wentworth Farms or whatever. Owen
The
Farms.
Nordic,
Owen
the
Drive,
Nordic
yeah.
team's workout today was at Leverett Pond.
Nice.
Ice skating.
Mm. Oh, they
Nice.
went on the ice at Leverett. I
Yeah.
haven't been. I was wondering because it was been so windy that I wondered if it had managed to lock up. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's windy.
They
good.
they measured the thickness and it was all good. So yeah.
excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
something to
Alright,
go
alright.
fishing on this
Alright,
weekend.
There's free
so-
skating at the. There's free skating at the Mullins Center Saturday night after the hockey game.
Oh,
There
cool.
is?
Check it
Oh.
out.
But what time is the
You gotta
hockey
pay for
game
the
though?
hockey ticket.
6. It's an early one.
6.
Oh.
Early. Yeah.
Oh, okay, good to know.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So-
Saturday 6.
Nice. All right, so I guess we can keep our meetings like if we wanna, well, are we gonna have anything to? I guess we could make a meeting for late January, like if
Yeah.
TSO gets back to us with anything.
Yeah, why not?
And so I don't know, Marcus, do you now have your other meetings also on Thursdays?
I have no clue.
I think
know
they're
there's
kind of like
a
every other
schedule, but
week, right?
I thought so, but we haven't had. I thought there was going to be one today, but there isn't. So I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, whatever.
Why don't we put in, do you guys want to put in the 23rd? We
Sure.
have
Yeah, why
things
not?
to
Yeah,
talk
no
about?
problem.
Okay.
Mhm.
And
How
I'll
about
see
the-
if Chief Ting is available then. And
Yeah,
Guilford,
that
does
would
that
be
work for
great.
you?
How about the 30th?
That
The
would work.
30th? The 30th, I can't do the 30th. I'm out of town.
Oh,
We can do the 23rd. I'll have someone else fill in.
Okay, great. Maybe
thanks.
Jason, we love Jason. When you can't be here,
Maybe.
he can tell. I mean, we love having you, but when I'm trying to, I say we like you
Covering,
both.
Tracy.
Oh shit! That was
No,
It's-
both of them. Come on. Jason has a different, he can tell us more about the road stuff, some of it. 'cause
I
he's
love
in the
having you here,
weeds.
Guilford.
Right.
Uh,
Don't retire
it's
too
coming to-
soon.
it's coming
Please.
soon.
No.
Retirement's coming. So
No. All right.
So-
So,
All right, 23rd it is. I'll just
great.
double check with other people that they're. And Stefan, does that work for you too?
Yeah, 23rd is fine.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
All right.
awesome.
Thank you, guys. Have a good
Thank
night,
you. See you later.
everyone. Thank you,
thanks,
Guilford.
Guilford. Thanks.
Bye.
Tracy.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.